Hi, I'm Ernie Zor, and this is another in a series of demonstration videos that Puritas Spring Software has published on YouTube. The earlier ones were related to Ohio Spousal Support Calculator and our Uniform Domestic Relations Forms application. We try to limit all of our videos to about 10 minutes or so that the goal of this video is to demonstrate the use and advantages of this great document preparation tool in about 10 minutes. The subject of this video is Deed and Document Pro version 6. I'll call it Deed 6. Now I could just start right in and prepare one of the many documents, like a warranty deed for example, and probably prepare a perfect deed in less than 5 minutes. But with this video, I think it would be better to underscore some of the key time-saving features that allow you to make important and convenient customizations to Deed 6. Therefore, I'm going to take a minute or two right at the very beginning now to demonstrate 3 facets of Deed 6 that allow you to prime the pump, so to speak, and complete your deeds and documents quickly and without errors. The first thing I want to show you is the concept of global variables. You can set these variables on the Options menu by clicking on the Set Globals item. You'll see a set of fields that are common to almost every deed or document. As you see, I've already got the fields completed, and that's going to save a lot of time because they're used over and over to complete some 60-odd documents. It works like this. Let's take a blank warranty deed as an example. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see that it's got preparer information at the bottom. There's ghost prompts in there, which I'll talk about later, but actually those fields are empty. Now, if I want to populate those fields quickly, I can simply click on the Globals button up at the top of the toolbar, and those fields are completed automatically. Now on a warranty deed, that amounts to a dozen or more fields. So when you think about it, when you set the globals, you're starting the preparation of some 60-odd documents. How long does that take to set the globals? 60 seconds. Once they're set, they're saved by Deed 6, and they're ready to be used forever. Another thing to notice about globals is they only populate a field when that field is empty. So if, for example, I was completing a deed and the preparer was different, I can complete the preparer fields, and then even pressing the global field, it would just populate all the global fields in that deed or document that were empty, but it would not complete those fields that already had text in them. The global variables also include month and year fields. Every document without exception has one or more date fields. With Deed 6, you can set the global year field once a year and the global month field once a month if you want to, and all your dates would be populated with the current month and year, which is usually what you want. And if you don't want that, you can easily change whatever's in a field anyway. So having global variables can be a significant time saver. Now, setting the global variables is a handy way to get a document started, but Deed 6 has got another time-saving feature. In fact, all of our Puritas Spring software applications have this feature, and it's called the default file. In Deed 6, you can set specific fields or specific deeds and documents with typically unchanging values. A good example is in a warranty deed. It's the exceptions clause. I'll get a warranty deed, or I actually have a warranty deed up here on the screen, and I've scrolled down to the exceptions clause, and you can see what I mean. That exceptions clause was in there without me having to do anything because I set it in the defaults file. Now, if you're an office that uses a different exceptions clause, you can set that, of course. But actually, the one we're using here has been in place for so long I can't remember a different one, and I doubt whether you'll find anything better. Of course, if you do have a preference or you do want to make a change, all you need to do, and I won't do it here, but all you need to do is open the defaults file, go to the document you wish to configure, enter the information, and save your changes. By the way, since we're on the subject, once you've saved your changes, you would click on the new file to get out of or unload the default file, because everything, remember, everything you type in the default file will become a default. And not that you can't erase or change a default, but it's easier to avoid making the mistake in the first place. So I've given you so far an explanation of global variables and document defaults, and those are, of course, substantial time savers. But before we begin preparing a sample document, I want to show you one more feature, the ability to modify the application itself. It works like this. Each document in Deed 6 has a template. You can open the template by clicking on the Modify Templates button on the toolbar. I believe there's also a command on the Options menu that does the same thing, but either way, the Select Document dialog appears, and in that document you may choose which template you want to work on, and when you make your selection and click on the Modify button, as you'll see now, the document appears in your word processor, and at that point you can make any changes you wish. I'll make a nonsense change here at the top. You might have a special clause that you'd like to insert into a particular document, and adding the language to the templates is as easy as modifying any document in your word processor. Because we've been working with the warranty deed as an example, I've made an insignificant change, I've saved it, and now I'm ready to go. That change is now part of the Deed 6 application template, and it's a permanent change that will appear in all future warranty deeds. The only change, or I should say, the only care that you need to take is to avoid modifying the variables. Those are the slash, asterisk, slash number items that you may have seen scattered throughout the template. You don't want to change those because if you do modify them, you could easily corrupt the template, and of course if that happens, you'll need to reinstate the template somehow, and it can be easily done, but I don't have time to go into that right now. So we've been using the warranty deed as an example, and it's a reasonably common deed, so I'm going to continue on with that. I'm going to begin completing the document from top to bottom, and the first thing I did was in starting a new one, is to click on the Set Globals button. Next, I'm scrolling through the deed, and I'm going from top to bottom, and you probably see as I've done this that much of the document has been pre-prepared, because not only the global variables, but the default values are already present in the deed. I'll scroll back to the top of the document and begin completing the fields from top to bottom, and you'll see as I go along that there are probably less than a dozen fields to complete. Much like all of our Puritas Springs applications, the white fields are the ones you complete, and the yellow or amber fields are the ones that are automatically completed by Deed 6 based on other entries that you've made in the document. In the warranty deed here, there are a number of places where you'll find pronouns, verbs, or other parts of speech related to the number and gender of the grantor, and you'll see that as we scroll through the deed, they're already completed automatically based on the information that I entered in the party identification dialog, which you see on your screen right now. The content of the party identification dialog changes a bit depending on the different documents, but most often you'll need to at least enter the name and probably the gender. Now, another handy feature I should call your attention to at this point is the help or the question mark buttons. If you're not sure what goes into a particular field, just click on the help button and you'll get a helpful hint. That is actually replacing the old interview wizard, which required you to proceed through a series of questions, as opposed to this way, which is simply going to the area you want, making the entry or the change, and if you need the information, you click on the question mark button. Speaking of verbs and pronouns, if you've ever used a word processing template to do this sort of thing, you should know how wrong things can go with a simple search of the pronoun he and replacing it with she. Very bad things can happen to a document like a last will and testament because he also appears within words like the word the. And if you modify your search criteria by searching for space, H-E space, you could miss changes that begin or end a sentence where you don't have the word he preceded and followed by a space. Try it sometime with any document. You may be surprised at how much damage you can do. Now, one solution to that problem is to keep one copy of the template for men and one copy for women, but that's got drawbacks too, because when you want to make a change to your template, you've got to make sure that you make the change in both copies. And again, you've opened the door to making mistakes because now you have to go through the extra work of typing it twice. It should be enough to get things right once, much less than having to do things twice. Busy law offices don't have time for that. Deed 6 has got these methods beat by a mile. When you make your entries in the party identification dialog, all the gender and number issues in the document are taken care of instantaneously. Now, I've completed all the fields here, and I've pasted a short nonsense. You may not have seen it, but I pasted a short nonsense real estate legal description in. And in this regard, I'll mention that if you've already got the legal description in your word processor, like many offices do, or anywhere else in a document where it can be copied, you can paste the legal description right into the document window. With the deed complete, I simply print on the Preview Print button, and the deed appears in Microsoft Word, ready for final review and printing. Why Microsoft Word? Well, law offices are busy places dealing with clients, legal emergencies. They're all day long. And so sometimes computer skills might not be so sharp, even though legal skills are sharp. One thing we've noticed in 30 years of dealing with law offices is that no matter how lacking a staff person's computer skills may be, they're usually darn good word processors. And that's why Deed 6 is so easy to work with, because it puts you into familiar territory, Microsoft Word. Of course, once a deed or document is in Word, you can do much more than simply print it. You can spell check it, you can grammar check it, you can do as much or as little editing and formatting as you like. You can save it as a PDF file, you can attach it to an email and send it to your client in cases where you want them to get it right away. In short, whatever you can do in Word, you can do to your deed or document, and that includes a lot. Incidentally, while most of our applications do not require Microsoft Word, Deed 6 does require it. Therefore, if you don't have Word installed on your computer, you won't really be able to use Deed 6. I think in the last minute or so, I'll demonstrate some other conveniences that are available that I haven't mentioned. One observation that you may have made is that the field input boxes don't necessarily limit the amount of text you can enter. The field box will scroll the text if you exceed its length, and although you won't be able to see the text on the screen all at one time, your document will come out perfectly. Now, another feature to be familiar with is inserting underlines. Sometimes a field in a document needs to be left blank. A date field is a good example where you're not sure that the client is going to come in on a particular day. You may know the month and the year, but you don't know the exact date when they're going to come in and sign the document. So you might want to leave the day field as a blank line. It's simple. When you're in the day field, just press Control L. The L stands for line. You'll get a 1/2-inch line. You hit it twice, you'll get a 1-inch line. You can add a 1/2 inch to that line every time you press Control L. We've got a similar convenient shorthand for inserting today's date by hitting Control T, which stands for today. You also probably noticed the gray prompts that appear in the empty fields. I mentioned them before. These are the ghost prompts. These are a more modern variation of the old interview wizard. They give you a suggestion as to what you must enter in a particular field. When you begin to make an entry in a field, the ghost prompt disappears. Now, if you don't like the visual clutter of the ghost prompts, you can hide them all by going to the Options menu and turning them off. And I think that's what I've done here. Well, that's it. I've shown you some of the key features, and I've prepared one deed, but there are about 60 commonly used deeds and documents included in Deed 6, including a really nice set of wills. I hope you like what you've seen about Deed 6 and recognize that it'll be a big time saver for your practice in preparing deeds and other legal documents, because it saves not just preparation time, but in proofing and correcting time as well. And speaking of time, I'm out of it. So, for myself, for Jackie, and Puritas Spring Software, I thank you for watching. Have a great day.